right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Tom and Josh Show. This is Josh along with Tom. And today we're going to be bringing you a few recommendations for starts and sits for Week 6 in fantasy football. To start, we're going to go with a couple of starts. So I have two players that I'm recommending you start this week. And so for the first one, going with Zack Moss against the Tennessee Titans. Now, he's been part of that split backfield in Buffalo for the beginning of the season last year, right? So now, after this Kansas City game, if you watch that game, he was on the field for 3/4 of the snap, 74%. And he's starting to take away that backfield, right? He's running away with it. This offense is getting up there, and right, they just whooped up on the Kansas City Chiefs. And so this is an offense that you want the players from. Zack Moss is turning into that guy in the backfield against Tennessee, right? Kind of one of those middle-of-the-road running defenses. I'm starting him. I'm firing him up. I think he's going to continue being the main back in that backfield. All right. For guy number 2, going Jaylen Waddle against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now Miami Dolphins, kind of an anemic offense so far to this point. But I'll tell you what, they've got Tua coming back this week. Waddle has been, on occasion, just peppered with balls throughout the entire game. He's had double-digit target weeks, scored a touchdown week 1 with Tua, and obviously the injury. So I'm looking for him to get back on track this week against Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville, on paper, has a really strong pass defense. And when you actually get into which receivers they're shutting down, it's the outside guys, okay? So if Devontae Parker is starting and he's not injured this week, that's even better for Jaylen Waddle. They'll shut him down, but then Jaylen Waddle's going to be able to feed on these kind of underneath throws and things like that. So right, if you look back at these games, week 1, Danny Amendola for the Houston Texans had 14 fantasy points, PPR. You know, when the Cardinals rolled in to Jacksonville, Christian Kirk was the guy. Scored 18 fantasy points. DeAndre Hopkins scored 5. Okay? And so you look at these and you start to say, yeah, Jacksonville is doing a great job shutting down that outside guy, but it's going to be these speedier guys that are going to get all the points, and that's why I'm firing up Jaylen Waddle. Tom, who do you got for the sits?
So my first sit is a guy I alluded to on our last show. It's Allen Robinson. You know, I started Crowder in place of him, and that ended up being the correct call. It was close, and Crowder got bailed out by the 2-point conversion that he had to put him over the edge. But yeah, I'm sitting Allen Robinson again. You can't trust him in this Bears offense right now. Robinson has not had more than 7 targets in a game since week 1. Rookie quarterbacks and rushing quarterbacks have been proven by studies to just be not good for fantasy pass catchers, and the Bears are rolling out both with Justin Fields. And the stat that I looked up today that surprised me is that in all 3 of Justin Fields' starts, he is averaging only 19 pass attempts per game. So there's just not the target share in this Bears offense to make Allen Robinson a reliable player. So until he kind of proves it, I think you need to sit him. And I'm comfortable missing out potentially on that because he's a talented guy, right? So he could have that big game, but until there's any consistency here, I'm going to stay sitting Allen Robinson. The next guy I have is Miles Sanders. So I have Miles Sanders in a couple leagues, and it's been a disappointment. They go up against Tampa Bay this week, and teams have not had a lot of success rushing against that Tampa Bay defense. And to the point where some of them aren't even trying. You know, in the past 2 games, New England and Miami only totaled 17 rushing attempts between the 2 of them. So a really good Tampa front is just a recipe for disaster for Miles Sanders. I think the silver lining is that you look at last week's game with the Dolphins and you had Myles Gaskins catching a lot of balls to find success against them. And Sanders is a little bit of pass catching upside, but with Jalen Hurts, like they just haven't really been able to get him fully involved. He doesn't have a touchdown yet, and that's another guy that I'm gonna wait and see on and sit him until I see it happen with any form of consistency before I'm putting Sanders back in my starting lineup.
Sure. All right. Well, there you have it. That's our top 2 starts and our top 2 sits from the Tom and Josh show. Stick with us throughout the week, and we'll be back to give plenty more insights for this weekend's games. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.